Hello everybody. Today is September 27th and it's Saturday, and I just posted a previous video where I was showing the partial assembly and the history of diesel heaters. And if you haven't watched that, I would suggest you go back and watch that, because this is the beginning of the next video where I'll be putting it up above the rear window of my shuttle bus. And I've been building on the brackets, and I'm going to sandwich the back wall between two pieces of my vinyl flooring. I was looking for something that would give a good surface inside and outside, because the shuttle bus is made of an inner and outer layer of fiberglass with insulation and spray-in insulation in between, and I'll be bolting through that 6 bolts on 2 brackets, big heavy duty shelf brackets that if you watch the previous video you'll know what that looks like already. And I wanted a little more stiffness, a little bigger surface area that those bolts will sandwich between to squeeze, so that it just gives a stronger surface for my diesel heater, so it's not bouncing up and down the road, up and down as it's going down the road. And as you can see, it's evening, and I like the lighting conditions of evening for doing my videos, so you don't have to have a light glaring in your face or too much sunlight coming through the windows to blind you. Anyway, if you haven't watched that video, I would ask you to stop this video right now and to go back and watch that one, because that video shows the origin of how diesel heaters came about, a lot of basically technical information about them, the temperature ranges that they're capable of, just a gob of information. And you can search for my other video at youtube.com/@tramptraveler, and look for the one that's got a diesel heater showing in the picture, in the thumbnail, in the cover. What you'll see as you are looking over the choices of the videos. And watch that entirely. I think it's like a half-hour video, but it's well worth sticking around for the whole video, because there's just a lot of information. If you're, doing any kind of camping, or need some cheap heat, not necessarily just cheap heat, but economical heat that runs economically, uses very little fuel, very little fuel. But my son uses one just to heat his house, just a small house. It's very efficient. And I've got one in a little camping trailer that I built previously. And I was camping out in that in 17-degree weather, and the thing had to be turned down because they just really put out a lot of heat. And it's a safe, clean heat, because it draws air in from the outside, squirts in some diesel fuel and burns it, and blows the exhaust straight back outside. And then it's got a fan that draws air in one end of it and across some aluminum fins, which is on the outside of the burn chamber, and blows it out the other end. It's really hot air. And they're great. They're probably the best option out there. beats propane all to pieces, because propane is expensive first, but it's also, if it's a open flame or the radiant type, is dangerous and makes carbon monoxide in your camper. But it also uses up the oxygen and puts a bunch of moisture in it, because propane, one of the components of it is water, and it just puts a lot of moisture in the air, and you certainly don't need that when you're running a heater in an enclosed area, because just your body and your breathing will put a lot of humidity in there, and then cold windows, cold door frames, window frames, it condenses that water, and right away you've got water dripping all over the place. So anyway, go and watch that. I'll give you the address again. But now I've got to put up those sandwich boards in the rear, on the rear wall above the windows, and put the heater through that, because it's going to exhaust out through the rear wall. And we'll see how far I get. I hope that in this next video that I'll actually be putting the juice to it and making it work. Make it show you that it does heat. Of course, you won't be able to feel the heat. You just take my word for it. But you'll see how relatively quiet it runs. It's as quiet as any propane furnace in say a pop-up or any kind of camping trailer that comes from a factory with a propane heater in it. So go watch the other one, then come back and watch this one. Watch it, to go to it, go to youtube.com/@TrampTraveler, as I'm showing down below here. youtube.com/@TrampTraveler. And I'll try to put in a QR code here so that you can just get your phone ready and take a picture of that with your QR reader, and it'll take you right to my other videos. And then you can search for the one with the diesel heater on the front picture of the thumbnail, what we call a thumbnail. It's actually the picture that you see when you're selecting videos. So you do that and come back here and watch this one entirely, and you'll see some real progress. And I'm really thrilled with this. So we'll catch you later. Well, I've put a piece of vinyl flooring on the inside so that I've got more area to attach to the wall. And I've got the two inside angle brackets up there. I've got them held on by two bottom bolts, and I bored the holes through to the outside, and I've got another plate that's going to go on the outside, another piece of vinyl, and it'll be with the wood side on the outside, and they'll both be painted white here before I'm done. But you got the hole there for the same hole as what you got up there for the extrusion to go through. This is what I'm calling the extrusion. It's the muffler exhaust. And I got my coupling that they call a connector. I got that in today, and it doesn't fit at all. I can't even get it over the stupid thing. It's labeled wrong in Amazon. It says it's supposed to be 24 millimeters, but it's not 24 millimeters. Anyway, so I'm using a chunk of the exhaust hose that came with the heater, and just cut the end off from that, and that'll be long enough to go on to both the heater and the extrusion, and hose clamp those together. I've got to go into the hardware store tomorrow to get 4 longer bolts to go through the brackets from the outside. The ones I've got aren't long enough. It actually needs 3.5 inches, so it's a real thick wall. And I also got to get some 5mm bolts for the brackets, or I got to cut the ones off that I've already got on the heater. That's probably what I'll do, because I tried finding 5mm that are 3/4 of an inch long on the internet, and it looked like it was impossible. I did buy some in a kit that I got from Myers or Walmart that had 5mm in them, but they're 1.5 inches long, and that might be too long from the inside to go towards that piece that I've got up top there. But we'll see. I definitely got to go in for 3.5-inch bolts tomorrow. The 2 that I've got in the bottom here, as I was drilling the holes for those, I hit the frame of the bus. In other words, the window frame, and that's up quite a ways. That's at least 2 inches up from the outer edge of the window frame, and that's actually good, because I use some self-tapping screws to go into there, some real tough ones, and so that's going to really help stabilize that and add strength to it. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I'll make a run in there for hardware tomorrow and come back and start work on the outside. And that's going to have to be glued and screwed and tattooed and everything else out there to seal it up, because that'll see weather. So hopefully everything matches up on the inside once I get the outside in place. So we'll catch you tomorrow. Well, folks, would you look at that? I got the diesel heater installed in the wall and out through the wall. It's looking fine, nice and square. I've still got to hook up all the pipe, the hose and stuff to it. But let me see if I can get a little better view of that. There you go. On the left side there will be the heat discharge hose. The cool air intake or cold air intake comes from the right side, but it'll be sucking in the heat that's up at the ceiling and reheating it again, and then blowing it out down angle into the rest of my shuttle bus. So hey, I like it. I like it a lot. Still got some hookup to do though, and then got to test it one of these days. But it'll be easy to replace it, because all I got to do is loosen up those 4 beam clamps on the bottom and just pull on it, and it'll slide right off from there. That's probably the easiest that anybody's ever going to have in repairing or replacing a diesel heater. Made some real progress. Hello again, this is Doug. It's Sunday, October 5th, and yesterday I did some more work on this heater up here. I installed this fuel line, and it was a bugger. Man, was that bugger. You know, this thing is only about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches away from the wall back there. And so I'm fighting, trying to get that thing over that little nipple that has to go on. And then, of course, you got to put a hose clamp on after that to tighten it down so it doesn't leak. Certainly wouldn't want it leaking right above the bed there. But I fought that thing for about 3 hours. and really frustrated. I was just beat from standing up and struggling up and behind there. You couldn't get two hands in there. And then I just thought, well, you big dummy. What did you just tell everybody on the video? This would be the easiest thing to pull off from there and be able to repair or replace it by just unloosening these four beam clamps. It took me about 10 seconds to undo those beam clamps and just pull that thing right off, put it down my lap, and push that thing over that nipple the rest of the way and tighten down that worm gear hose clamp and slide it back up there another 10 seconds to bolt her back down. Just what a dummy. You know, I mean, that's me. But I'll tell you, it really worked good. Because all you got to do is take those four beam clamps off, and there's nothing holding on there except for this slides over the exhaust pipe, which is on the outside coming in. And so that's what I did. Yeah, I don't know. Just me, you know. I mean, as you can see, with my bed in the up position, the center part of it in the up position, I can walk right up to that heater. But that's also nice that I'll be able to walk right up to work on the batteries, which will be underneath there. And be able to hook those up, be able to service them, whatever. But yeah, today is Sunday. I typically don't do any work on Sunday, and it's 80 degrees out here anyway. And so I'm going to go in and watch some football, I guess. We'll catch you later. Hey y'all, I'm back. I didn't do anything Sunday, just went to church and hung out. Anyway, and yesterday, Monday, which was the 6th of October, I did a bunch of running around, so I was gone all day. And then it started raining after that, and ended up this morning, it quit finally. You might have noticed I gave myself a haircut. I have done that for 6 years, and I use what's called a Flowbee, Flobee haircutting system. Hooks up to your vacuum cleaner, and gives me as good a haircut, if not better, than when I get at a barber. And it's consistent. You might want to look into that too if you're going to be out camping and stuff like that. You want to save yourself some money in the long run. So anyway, I brought in some components here that go to this diesel heater, and I wanted to show you some of those things and talk about some of those before I start assembling it. So hang on just a second. Alrighty, let's start on the right over here. I've got a little remote, and it's got a little screen on it. It's different than the other remote that I've got, so I don't know too much about that one. And I've got to figure out what size batteries it takes. Looks like maybe a 25N or something like that. And then I've got a little controller here. And that generally reads in Celsius or Hertz. Doesn't do Fahrenheit, but Hertz is just how many cycles per minute it runs the pump. And so the more Hertz you give it, the quicker the pump cycles, and it just keeps on a cycle, and it doesn't control up and down. Where if you're going with the Celsius, which most of the world uses, it'll actually speed up and slow down the heater. Now this plug here goes up to the heater. Get away from that sun. What little bit of sun we got, it plugs in right there. And then this is the pump that came with it. I just purchased this one here, and it came here Monday. and that's a quieter pump. As you can see, the difference is difference in length here, which I've heard, I think it was in a video, that it's got more room for a longer stroke spring so that it doesn't bang at the ends so loudly. Then let's see, one of the first things you want to do, because this wire here is, I don't know, it's 16 gauge or crap, you know, and that's one of the biggest problems that they have with these things is it's not getting enough amperage or voltage or wattage, whatever one you want to call it. I think it's wattage, up to through the controller and down to the glow plug, which goes here. So one of the first things you want to do is buy yourself some 10 gauge wire. You'll never be sorry. I bought 40 foot, you know, black and red. Of course, the red is the hot. So that'll replace this. And there's a fuse holder there. And I'll probably not even use that one. I've got some other ones that are heavier, got heavier wires. And I'm going to use the quiet one, although I'm going to test them both to see how noisy they are. Then this is the hose that is for your air discharge, your hot air discharge. As you can see, you can bend it. You can stretch that out. It's probably about 4 foot long if you stretch it out. And then there's a disperser that you can rotate into different directions. If you can see, it's on an angle. Let's see. I brought out some clamps. Those you're seeing is reflection there, but battery clamps. And I'm just going to hook this up. I'm not going to hook it all the way up down to my tank yet. I've got the, where is it here? There's the filter, fuel filter. And I put an arrow on it because they don't give you an arrow, so you had to do some research. And there was no arrow on this either, so I had to look that up online and put my own arrow on that. And what it is this plug is towards the heater, just so you know. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change out these wires and just temporarily hook it up to a 12 volt battery. And I brought out my 10 amp battery charger, which I can plug into 110 out here and hook up to the battery, because the battery I'm going to use is just a small one, like out of a lawnmower, although it's a deep cycle. And I'm going to test this thing for maybe an hour. I brought out my temperature gauge thing so I can show you what the exit temperature is as it's puking out. But I'm only going to get a gallon of diesel fuel in a small can and bring that in here and just set it up here on the bed somewhere and suck it right out of there. The reason I'm doing this is I just want to verify that it works before I get everything totally hooked up and piped in and everything. And then I've got a wire from up here down to where the controller will be over here, and then down to the pump, and so I want to just temporarily hook all that stuff up. This is 40 foot of 10 gauge copper wire. The reason I got so much is because it's probably going to be about 12 feet that I'll be using here. Maybe a little bit more, because it's got to come down from the heater. No, it's got to go from the controller to the battery. That's only going to take about maybe 8 feet. And then I'll just use this wire here for the rest of the distances, you know, coming up over here. But the reason I bought so much of this wire is because I want to go from the batteries back in the back here all the way to the front passenger side where I'm going to have a 12 volt chest type refrigerator freezer. And I want plenty of power to get to that. But I also will have some other things like some cameras and stuff like that are also running off in 12 volt. One other thing that I bought is acoustic foam. That's what they use in sound booths. And you read online that the way that this noise from these pumps migrates into your living area is through hard contact. That's why they have these rubber holder things to help isolate it. But even putting a screw to that and putting it to your vehicle, it sends some of those shock waves right into that, and it works like a drum almost. But what I'm going to do is, since I'm diabetic, I get my Ozempic in styrofoam coolers, little ones, maybe 12 inches square, about 10 inches deep. And I'm going to line the inside of that with this acoustic material with the pointed ends pointing in. And then I'm going to suspend the pump inside of there so that it's not touching the styrofoam container. And I'll probably even wrap this with this acoustic loosely, trying to mitigate as much noise from the pump as possible, because it's going to be over here in this corner down inside of that hole there. And the head of my bed I'm considering it's going to be over here. So it'll be right below me. And it might still drive me nuts. On my little trailer that I built, it's on the outside of the trailer, but it's still right there just outside the wall from my head. And it clicks pretty loud, but somehow I sleep right through it. I don't know. So anyway, I'm not going to mess with installing this temporarily tomorrow, because I've still got to go get diesel fuel. I still got to bring a battery out here. I might work on these wires here, but I'm going to use the whole 40 foot of it, because I don't know exactly how much I'm going to need between the controller and the battery. And I don't want to waste any of it, so I'll just run it through the whole thing. That's fine. It's plenty powerful enough for that. So, well, I was videotaping earlier explaining some of the things about doing your connections and setup and all that stuff and what not to do. And one of the things that somehow got cut out of that part of the video was that when you're assembling your fuel lines, you want to make sure that where your fuel line goes into the rubber hose, you want this plastic line to butt up tight against the steel tubing coming out of this pump. And that goes for everywhere. Up here at the heater, you want that plastic hose going through the hose, the plastic line going through the rubber hose to actually go up and butt up against the feed pipe going into the burn chamber. And the reason for that, I think I've already explained it once, but I'm going to do it again because it's so important, is that any gap between the plastic line and the steel tubing will be a place where bubbles can hold up and then all of a sudden come through in a big gulp, and it'll kill your flame. It'll put your flame right out. You won't even understand. It'll just say starved of fuel or something like that for your air codes. So I wanted to make sure that got in there, and now let's continue. I got extra hose in the garage, which I want to use in between here temporarily, and then from here down into the gallon tank that I'm going to put it in. Okay, so some other things here. I use heavy wire. There's only 16 gauge up here. That going into the blower, that's only 16 gauge. That's got to come all the way back down for the pump yet. Let's see here. I got 16 gauge up there. It's like a chunk of chain. If you got a weak link, that's where it's going to break. Well, the same in wiring. If you got a small wire, that's where it's going to heat up or quit, or not allow enough power to go through. This thing, when it's in the startup mode, it's going to draw about 100 amps or 100 watts from what I've seen with my other one. And that's because there's a glow plug that it's heating up right in the housing itself, right in the heat chamber or the burn chamber. It's like a glow plug in a diesel engine. Helps to get that diesel fuel ignited. It does that during startup, and then also it's got an automated shutdown, and it goes through that same heat cycle with the glow plug so that it can burn off excess fuel. You don't want any fuel left inside, unburned inside of your heat chamber. So the pump shuts off, and then your blower keeps going because it's got hot fins on the heat exchanger, and then your glow plug starts up again, burns the rest of that fuel off after the pump has quit. And then even after the pump has quit and the glow plug's gone off, I think the blower will run for a little bit longer so that you don't have all that heat inside that casing. Prime cycle. First off, this little pump down here, the power usage of that is really minimal. And it's a pulse anyway, so it doesn't really hardly show up on a meter. Prime cycle. This control has a prime cycle so that it can get the fuel all the way up to the burn chamber without using your glow plug. Because they might have to do that through 2 or 3 start cycles just to get the fuel up there. And the draw on that, when that glow plug is working, can really tear a battery up. So let's see, on your pump, right here, your pump, it's recommended. I see some that say 30-degree angle up, and some say 45-degree angle up. But the purpose of that is 2 things. First, it's to pass the bubbles on through the pump, because if they stay in the pump will start running dry, and it needs that fluid flowing through there to help cool that down. Basically, it's just a big coil with a piston popping back and forth, and it will create heat, one with the coil and also with the friction of the pump piston. Let's see, what else we got here? And what I always do, because this filter here is quite large, I tip that up when it's going through the priming cycle so that you get all of the air passed on through that and up into the pump or up into the heater, because you don't want a whole bunch of air sitting inside of there and then have a gulp of it go on up to harm the pump or to get up into the burn chamber, because air don't burn. But also then this filter can act somewhat as a air reservoir, so bubbles will go. There's always bubbles. For some reason, it makes its own bubbles. I guess with cavitation it's called. But there's always bubbles, just little tiny ones. And so they have a place to sit and wait their turn. And then you can always unscrew this and burp the air out, but you're going to get a big mess of diesel fuel. Now, some of these heaters come with this white hose, and if it comes with a white hose, you're perfect. If it comes with some of the green hose, as you do some shopping, you'll see some of them even show the coil of green hose. You don't want that crap. It's really flexible, it's soft, and it actually will act like a balloon in the line, so you're not getting a good full hard pulse all the way up at the burn chamber. It's got to pass it through the orifice, and it just doesn't do as good. It's more like trying to stretch a rubber band rather than stretch a wire. Rubber band stretches all over the place. So I've got to get that other hose for here and then into the tank. I've got to get some diesel fuel in that tank. I got to bring out a battery, and then we're going to test this. I brought out this one elbow. I'm going to take that outside and put it in the outlet of the heater with it pointing down, so that when it rains, it doesn't get water inside of the throat of the extrusion. And I don't, it's only maybe 5 inches from the burn chamber, so I don't want water getting up in the burn chamber. That wouldn't be good. I mean, it might not harm anything. There's no moving parts in there, but it would have to burn that off every time, or at least, heat it up and boil it away. But it's better just to have that on there. And I'm not worried about pointing that down towards this window, because that window is going to be closed, all the way closed and latched when I'm heating. You don't have your window open and the heater going at the same time. Wouldn't make sense. Although if I do want a window open because it's getting too hot in here, I can open up this window over here. That's also an emergency exit, and I can prop that baby open. I'm thinking about getting a linear actuator, which is what's used in, there's so many things for opening windows, opening gates, for your electric handicap recliners. A lot of different uses for stuff like that. They use them for moving solar panels to follow the sun. Anyway, $20, $35 somewhere in there. I could put one of those actuators on this window over here, and use a remote to open it from bed. It wouldn't have, I can open and close it to moderate, because I'm planning on running this baby full bore all the time, because I don't want this thing getting all choked up inside with soot. And that's one of the big problems with this, is if you run it low all the time, it'll start sooting up. So people who do that because they got no other way of keeping the heat out, they'll run it low for most of the time, and then they'll torque that baby all the way up to high blast, and hopefully burn off excess fuel, and maybe some carbon, but they're not getting much carbon out of there. And then this little remote here, hang on a second. Got a little remote that comes with this. Put that down there. That is a wireless remote that I can start this with, or I can start it with these buttons. But this is kind of nice because you can keep this in your pocket. You could put some Velcro on it, hang it above your bed or whatever. Get a handy spot, and you can turn the heat up and down. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, all that good stuff. It does everything that this will do, except I think the controller, you can get into the numbers in there to modify your ratios. Because when you get up into the mountains, I think about 6,000 feet, then you have to start changing your fuel ratio compared to how much your fan is blowing through there, to make it so that it is still efficient. And I guess you can get them all the way up to 10,000 feet and still functioning, but they don't like it way up there. But some of them, I don't know if this one does or not, because I bought it almost new. It'd never been wired up or anything, but I can see there's all kinds of scratches on this screen here. And this screen on this got a little booger on it. Just still got the plastic to pull off, but somewhere they pulled the plastic off from that. But that's also another reason why I'm going to be testing this first, because it appears that nothing in the heater or anything else has been wired or anything. So I'm not terribly concerned, and it wasn't an Amazon return because I bought it from an individual. So those are all the things we talk about right now. And tomorrow I'm going to go get that fuel and bring the battery out, and we'll torque this baby up and make sure she heats. Like I say, I brought out my temperature gauge thing. I can shoot that at that whatever, and it's 65 out here. That gauge says 64 in here, but you know, a degree different, no big deal. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, now this morning, which is Wednesday morning, December 8th or October 8th, I picked up a couple of gallons of diesel fuel this morning when I went out for breakfast, and I got some more white tubing from where I've had it stored, and then I also brought out a battery. Now I'm going to put that battery on charger here just to torque it up a little bit while I'm making the rest of these connections, and then we're going to start this puppy up. So give me some more time here and we'll be right back. Well, I've been trying to prime this thing, and it just wasn't going anywhere. The pump was working, but it wasn't getting anything up the tube to the pump. So I took the filter out, just thinking maybe there was a leak around the seal of the cap, and still nothing. And I tried pumping up and down on this, you know, to help the fuel get up there, and nothing. So then I lifted the jug up to where it was equal to where the pump was, and tried it that way, and it finally started pulling fuel, and I've got it up there now, albeit there's quite a few bubbles that went up there with it. And I just put it in the start mode, and the pump is working very quietly. I don't know if you can hear that. Get right up to it. It was noisier when it was priming because it was going so fast, but anyway, we'll see if she fires up. Well, it failed to start, and you know, the pump is working fine, but the glow plug isn't coming on, and that's the next step in order to produce heat. And until it can produce heat, it's just going to go into failure mode. And it always starts twice, so it's already run through one start cycle, and now it just started the second start cycle. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to call it quits for a while, because my charger is only putting out 12 volts right now, or it's only got 12 volts at the battery, and that should be sufficient to start it. But if it's too low, the thing will just go into fail mode again, so I may have to just let that battery charge up. We'll see. Yeah, I just got an error code E10, so let me look that up and we'll see what that says it is. I'm pretty sure it's fuel. Well, I came in the house giving up on that diesel heater. I'm letting the battery charge up all the way, and I'll mess with it tomorrow. I think what I'm going to do, I'll try it maybe one more time tomorrow, but then I'm going to dig out my other diesel heater that I've got that I've never used. It's brand new, and try changing out the keypad there first. There's three things that could be wrong. Could be the keypad, the screen thing that's got all the buttons on it. Could be the controller board inside of the heater itself, or it could be that the glow plug, could be the glow plug is dead. I don't know. The air code I got there, the E10, it comes up as two possibilities. Sensor is not functional, and the other one is lack of fuel. And I know I got fuel up there, and I'm pretty sure that the sensor is probably okay because it's a sensor for heat, and it's not showing any heat. The pump or the glow plug never came on, so there's no way it could have started igniting. So I don't think it's a sensor. I think it's just that the glow plug is either bad or one of those two control boards, the control panel or the control board. I'm going to try switching out just the keypad first, see if that works. If that don't work, then I'll replace the whole heater up there and go from there, I guess. I may have got a pig in the poke when I bought that heater used. It didn't look like it was used. There's no evidence of use or even being put together, except for that the screen was kind of scratched up on that one control panel. So I don't know. We'll see, but I'll swap out that control panel first, and it may or may not be compatible with this heater. I don't know. They over the time they keep changing out controls and heater boards. So anyway, we'll see. Anyway, this could be the end of this video. It's already way too long. And once I get it going, I'll come back and give you all an update. So be watching for that video to come up too.